I'm Michael Connor. I'm an executive director at DriveWealth LLC.
Hi, my name is Eric Asuma. I'm the CEO and founder at Hisa Technologies.
Today I'm sitting with Eric and Michael. Eric is the CEO of Hisa Technologies and Michael is an executive director at DriveWealth. And we want to talk about investing in global markets, specifically because Hisa is launching a product that will allow retail investors to access global markets in the US, as well as the experience and what we expect from the partnership between Hisa and DriveWealth. My name is Mwakaneno Gakweli. I'm a business journalist at the Kenyan Wallstreet. Welcome to today's show. Good morning. I'm Michael and Eric. Today we want to talk about generally the fintech environment in Africa and let us pivot the conversation to trading, specifically trading on global stocks on a platform that we're launching today at Hisa Technologies, of course in partnership with DriveWealth. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thanks, Ali.
Thank you, Adi.
So maybe just to start with, Eric, I'd like to start with you. What are some of the trends that we've witnessed in terms of investment, especially with COVID-19, specifically investment in equities?
Great. The space has changed quite a while. At the height of the pandemic, we saw a lot of people were seated at home and local equities weren't enough, right? We have very few listed companies, and when you look at the opportunities across the global markets, Africans, specifically in Kenya, were reduced to spectators following the conversations online, social media, but there's no way that you could actively participate in how to take advantage in some of these opportunities. And that really fastened this project that we've been in conversations with DriveWealth for a while. This is just a good opportunities for Kenyans to create wealth, invest in companies or in products and brands that they use on a daily basis. So it's very exciting, and we are really glad to have worked with DriveWealth to make this happen in the African market.
More on your side, though. What do you have to say with regards to investors looking towards global markets? Why should investors, especially within the Kenyan and African market, look for equities in other markets like the American markets? What do we have there?
Well, I think one of the first things to consider is that the U.S. market is more than the U.S. It's really a global market. So many big international companies list in the U.S. And so by accessing the U.S. markets, retail investors around the world really get an opportunity for international exposure. And investment in local markets, still a very important piece, but giving retail investors, normal individuals, the opportunity to really participate in the big global brands, the products they use, and the names they know, that's, I think, a way to get to real equality of opportunity for investment around the world.
On to you, Eric. Is this transition from the Kenyan Wallstreet, which is the company that you first started that focused on providing really, really impactful news and actionable news around financial markets, first in Kenya, in Africa, and around the world. And now we're moving towards Hisa, which is bigger and better, that will eventually allow your readers to act on the information that they've been consuming. Mm-hmm. Why Hisa, and what does Hisa offer that's not on other platforms?
We began the journey as a financial news publication. And what led us through is it's the users who actually demanded for this. So while we were publishing the news, users were asking and the audience were asking, you give us the news, how do we get access to the market? And when we looked at the market through research and asking the users what was their biggest pinpoint, we realized they needed access to the markets. And in giving them access to the markets, we needed to make the technology work. So these are a bit different. We are combining two elements of a business, which I believe they work closely. Yeah. There's the media and financial literacy side, and there's the execution side. So people will have access to the news that you've been consuming on Kenyan Wallstreet, right? And we intend to beef more on that area, add to the content team, beef up on the content team. On the other side, we have the execution through the Hisa app, which is a project that we've been working on since 2019. So when we combine these two, that's what makes the difference, and that's the competitive advantage that we have. We want people to learn, get to know about what's happening in the market. While you learn about this, you also get to execute about some of these brands and the content that you interact with. We believe it's an exciting journey that's going to be ahead. So we are really, really excited to make this happen and to give this to the public.
Maybe Michael, back to you. Earlier in the last question you answered, you told me that you've had other partnerships in South Africa and Nigeria, and now you're coming to Kenya. Why Kenya, not any other country in Africa, apart from the two that you're already in?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. There was a really authoritative paper that came out of the IMF a couple of years ago on the fintech scene in Africa. And they talked about the countries where fintech has developed in a really visible and aggressive way. And so we were able to see that Kenya was a country where, not only has the retail investor sort of been limited in their choice, but that fintech and this idea of combining various types of financial products in a digital format was clearly going to do well here. And we felt that this is a great place for us to pursue our mission of bringing markets to retail investors. We've got this very special fractional share trading capability, which our partners can then use to allow their customers to invest in whatever amount they have. So they can buy $2 of Apple or $5 of Tesla. And so that whole structure, being able to reach a real broad retail market, and the sort of visibility and the success of the fintech scene in Kenya were good indicators to us that this was a place where we wanted to do business. And I was lucky enough to meet Eric pretty early on in that process. And so we've got great expectations for doing business here.
Allowing retail investors, especially in Kenya, to access some of the stocks. Just to mention a few, a stock like BAT, a stock like Kakuzi are within, rather beyond the price range of many retail investors. How do you think, merging the capabilities of DriveWealth in terms of trading fractional shares will impact retail investors in terms of the stocks that they can access and how they can diversify their portfolios?
When you look at how our local markets work, a share like BAT, which is quite expensive, how do you break it down into small tokens or fractions? And what DriveWealth has been able to do on the technology side, we hope to get some of those learnings and implement in the local market. We've been in discussions with the local market players in terms of how to make that happen. That comes at a later stage of this particular project, and we intend to work closely with the regulators, the market players, and build a technology that will enable them to build a fractional sort of system for the local markets and expose the Kenyan market and the African market to other investors who are interested to invest in local or African securities.
Gentlemen, you have me sold on the ease of trading on this platform that we're developing here, Hisa. Mm-hmm. But then one of the major challenges that many retail investors have in Kenya towards accessing global markets is the requirements that are needed just to open an account. So for example, other platforms out there require you to have a permanent physical address, which does very little for retail investors who don't own property or who don't have utilities directly attached to their name. What are some of the requirements that Hisa will have that will allow people to easily, be able to open an account and then trade?
We've automated everything from the account opening process to the submitting of an order. That entire process has been automated, and that's what makes this different. And it's something that's quite new across the world, and we are very glad to be part of the team that's making this happen across the globe.
Maybe from your end, of course, as I said earlier, DriveWealth has had successes in partnering with players from other markets in ensuring access to global markets like the US. What are some of the things that investors planning to trade on Hisa can look out for from global markets?
Just in terms of the experience of investing in global markets?
In terms of the experience of investing in the global markets, in terms of the difference in returns between the global markets and the local markets, as well as things like the volatility. You know.
Well, look, the really wonderful thing about the U.S. listed market, in addition to the fact that it's so global, is it's a very, very deep, it's the most deep, most liquid, and most transparent market. So it comprises something like 56% of the total global equity markets. And I think that people will find that in addition to the really tangible, meaningful experience of being able to invest in companies like Amazon and Tesla and Disney and Coca-Cola, in a lot of cases, products they use and brands that they know, they'll find that the U.S. market is generally a very good, broad, diversified parameter of global economic growth. And so there's clearly been a trend in U.S. markets recently, which has been very positive, and the outlook for most of these companies continues to be very positive. So I think people are going to see that if they're smart about investing and take their time to learn and use the content that they get through the platform to understand how to invest wisely, that they're going to be able to build up wealth in a meaningful way and participate in the success of some of these companies.
Maybe, gentlemen, in closing, of course, the African market and specifically countries like Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa have been quite bullish on, new assets like cryptocurrencies. Is this something that we should expect from Hisa?
When you look at the uptake of new products like crypto, quite emerging, extremely good products, in as much as they're very volatile. In terms of adopting this and making it easily accessible, in the long run, it's something that we can look at. But when you look at it in the short term, when it comes to you have to work closely with the regulators, right? If in the next couple of months or years we have a situation whereby regulators are quite positive, particularly in Kenya, at some of these products, I believe it's something that our users can demand for and we'll be able to offer them. But that's mostly dependent on how the local regulatory environment looks like. Some of these products are quite volatile, quite risky, so need someone to understand them properly before putting in your money. In the short term, we have no plans of putting in crypto into Hisa. In the long run, if the regulatory environment allows for that, it's a conversation that we'll be more than willing to have and see how to make that happen.
I'm sure our retail investors are quite looking out for what Hisa has to have, and hopefully we'll get there. Gentlemen, this is all I had for today. Thank you so much for joining this discussion.
Thank you, Ali.
Thank you very much, Ali.